Welcome to the 30-Minute Growth Session, the show where transformation takes center stage. Hosted by me, Dr. Lisa L. Campbell, the Growth Motivator. Each week, we bring you dynamic guests who are all sharing actionable insights to empower your personal and professional journey. Are you ready to grow? Let's get started with today's episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another 30-minute growth session. And I want to tell you, it's a brand new year, and many of us are struggling, trying to figure out what's going to be next. Here I am, 3 years later, after I decided to take the big leap to focus on entrepreneurship. And I'm no longer afraid because I've decided to exercise faith over fear. Today, I want to bring in our guest, which is Lorra Brown, who is going to talk to us about a few things related to entrepreneurship. And again, this is all about growth, and more growth. Laura, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Campbell.
So, listen, you told me before we started recording that you wanted to talk about entrepreneurship. And I said, let's go, bet. Entrepreneurship is something that's near and dear to my heart. I started the journey in 2002. So it's
Okay.
2025, and I started 2002.
Wow.
And 2025 will actually make my second year as full time, like straight full time entrepreneur. No more corporate attachment. I have a problem with organizations who won't allow you to do some extra things on the side while you're working for them, because what they don't realize, if you like stay in this box and just work for them, you grow within the box. But if you step out and do some other things, you grow that you can bring back to the box, right? To help the organization. But they don't see it like that. And unfortunately, and the millennials have set us straight. I
Yeah.
believe that the future, you're going to see more entrepreneurs because they're going to be like, forget this salary and benefits. I can do, a better job just being me. So tell our listening and viewing audience all things Laurent. That's a joke. That's a joke. Her name is not Laurent. It is Laura.
Right. Okay. So thank you again for having me. I agree totally with what you've said. I have seen so many corporate America jobs that do not want you to participate in certain things. You have to ask for permission. And millennials have set out and set things straight. But I also think that those that are, Gen Zs, the others have as well, because this thing about us being, and I've been in full-time business myself since 2009. I went full-time, but I still do some corporate contracts and things like that. But us being, where we are going to be loyal to you and you're not loyal to us, those days are fast leaving. There are numerous, and I don't have to tell you, of organizations, and one just happened on this past Friday where people come in and they're automatically given pink slips with no warning, and especially by the holidays. So, I think that is setting a path, but with setting that path as an entrepreneur and as a female entrepreneur, you still have to make sure that you are on the right path to be ready so that you don't have to go back into those roles. And if you do, that's fine, but you want longevity and lasting.
I love that. So, for those of you who don't know, I have another video podcast, 52 Authors, 52 Weeks. And outside of the 52 books that I spotlight, interviews every year, I do a lot of reading because I realize that what's in books is information that you need to know. and it's hidden in the books. So there's a book that's called, and I don't want to get the title wrong, but it's something like A Plan and B Plan, right? And so I remember working a full-time job at a university online, so I didn't have to go anywhere, and operating my business. And I would see when the university would do these mass layoffs, and people would get laid off with absolutely no B plan whatsoever. And they would call me because they knew that I had, my business, and they were like, "Where do I begin?" And I'm like, "Well, first, after you recuperate from being under the umbrella of that organization, you need to really take some time to figure out who you are, what you like, do a brain dump of all of the amazing things that you know how to do, right? And then start to organize it and and figure out what value you could be to a particular audience, right? Figure out who your audience is. And most of the times they tell me that it takes them months to get off the couch to move in the direction of figuring those things out. So my advice to everybody is you should be doing an environmental scan of you, all the amazing things you're good at, what you don't like. Identify your strengths. Strength Finder is another great book, and really set out to have the wheels in motion in the event something happens. And I'm in Chicago, and that's like the second company that I think we've heard about that just came in the same day and was like, "See
Yes.
you later." Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Holiday time. Now, I don't really buy, Christmas gifts, but just food and rent. And I'm in Chicago, and heat and all the things you need to survive. Not a great time to make that decision, but big corporations don't care about the people who are doing the work.
Unfortunately, they don't, but they want you to be loyal. If you leave, I want you to give me 2 weeks. And if you don't give me 2 weeks, then you can't have the vacation that you saved and earned because you were not loyal to me. But you're absolutely right. They do need to do an assessment. I work with entrepreneurs as an accountant and tax professional every day. And I will tell you that I see people saying, well, I was told I can make this much money doing this. Okay, but do you really like it? Because if you don't like it, it's not going to last. And if you're looking for the money, what happens when you have the turmoil of downtime? Okay, we're going into possible a hard economy again. So you have to be able to, I don't care what you have to be able to sell and be able to be stable in a hard economy. What does that mean? A lot of people don't know what it means because you focused on your marketing, you focus on everything looking pretty till you really just don't understand the core concepts of the business.
Wow, you just literally dropped some hardcore concepts for entrepreneurs. And I just thought back to the pandemic when businesses were trying to get the loans, and they didn't, like legitimate businesses, didn't have the paperwork in place to prove that they were actually a business. And I think there's this misconception about what a business is. I remember working at the university, and this lady said to me, "Oh, I Googled you. You got a real business." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "Well, I told you I do some consulting." She's like, "But you actually have a real business." And I'm like, "Yeah, what did you think I have?" Then she proceeds to tell me, I wish you can make, more money in your business so that you can leave and really do that. I'm like, now she's in my pocketbook, telling me what I can and cannot do. And then this is what sealed the deal for me. She said to me, "You'll never leave. We need you here."
Oh, okay.
For real? Now,
Wow.
mind you, I have not heard. Now, this person used to call me on a regular basis, but since I left, I have not heard from that person at all.
And unfortunately, that happens. I tell a lot of entrepreneurs be ready to be lonely at the top. So
Mhm.
think about it. When you are going up to Mount Rushmore, you have to have a mask on. Why? Because you're elevating. That means you're going up. So there are times that they may get stuck and they have to go down a little bit to come back up, but still you're going up. And as you get up, things get difficult, they get tougher. But the whole thing about it is it's worth the journey. And a lot of people, they think in their mind that now you become another person, you're too good for them because they have a 9 to 5, but and then they have dreams and aspirations that they do not want to go after because they've been paralyzed. Let me use this word. They've been paralyzed in their mind that if you leave this 9 to 5, you can't make it. If you do this, you can't make it. But the thing about it is, just like you done, when you are at your 9 to 5, this is when you should be getting ready, having your back end, understanding how business goes completely, making sure that you find the things that you love doing, not just doing for the money, but all of these things that you're preparing yourself to move in another direction. And this is where we mess up. We don't prepare ourselves. So when someone cuts the life support, now we are forced to do something, but we're in a hurry. And to backpedal a little bit, speaking on the pandemic, you are so right, because a lot of people didn't know until I told them on the first round, I was contracted by a bank. I
Mhm.
was looking at docs and looking at people's payroll. They would go out and get someone to do the payroll right quick. The numbers never added up. And we were telling people no, left and right, because there were people like me. They needed contractors on the back. We know 941s, we know the accounting, we know the taxes. And we're just like, no, this isn't it. And they were getting denied. The second round that they had, I decided to do it on my own to help entrepreneurs because I saw so many people that had a real business, but they were stuck and could not get the funding that they needed because they didn't have their house in order.
Wow. You know what? That just reminded me of something. So I actually closed my first business November 2023. And one of the things that I realized, I had the accountant the entire time, but I didn't do what I was supposed to do as the business owner to ensure that I was looking at my financial state, right? Looking at my profit and loss statement, looking at my balance sheet, looking at my cash flow statement. And so now with the new business that I have, um, I'm more aware of those things, but finances is like just one piece of the pie, right? You have to make sure that your operations are intact, right? How will you handle customer service? Who's going to support you in this business? Because you can't have a business and you're trying to do everything, right? You need to have some support for the daily operations. And let me just tell you, once I got those things in order, I felt free as a business owner, but most importantly, I felt free as a person.
Right,
Because when you're one and the same, but with me trying to do everything on my own, or I would have someone assisting me in the office, wasn't a good fit, right? But once I really took a step back, I had to transition my old ways into the ways that I've learned that they should be. And that's when the magic started to happen. That's when all of my creative juices just started flowing to the extent that it was so overwhelming. I had to say, this is an old term statement. I say, hold up, Jim Shoe. You need to pull back. You need to write down what's important, prioritize those things. And that's what really helped me grow and flourish, but I had to go through the process. And I tell people all the time the process repeats itself, but it's consistently 3 phases. So, first, I had to close the door, right? I had to close the door of that
right,
job because I could not fully operate in my zone of genius being attached to that organization where honestly, I'll be the first to admit I was held hostage by salary and benefits, but I
right,
made enough money in my business to leave. I was just afraid. But
right,
I had to close the door, right? And then I had to step into that time period where it was real messy, right? I'm afraid about the uncertainties that are ahead of me, paying my bills, paying down debt, right? And so in that messy middle, I really experienced some emotional, physical, literally physical shifts that are allowing me to go to the next level with ease. But I had to go through that messy middle. And now I'm in the new state of my new beginning. And that process continues over and over again. But I tell people all the time, I didn't make mistakes. I just learned a whole lot of lessons that I could actually capture in a book of, do's and don'ts. Like, be like,
Right.
oh, I got QuickBooks. Okay. What are you doing with QuickBooks, right?
Right.
How are you analyzing that data? Is your bookkeeper that's going in QuickBooks to do the entries, are they giving you any feedback? Are you actively involved? And when I think about myself, the answer was no, 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 no. But I
Right.
had to go through all those no's to get to the yeses.
Right. And that's what we say to people. So I have a group of employees that work with me, and when they're doing the books, and I go over all the financials and things with the entrepreneurs, I say, look, listen, I can't make you do anything. I can't make you show up to these meetings. You have to want to show up. Yes, I email the reports. I make sure they've given them to you. We write out a synopsis that way, but if you're not coming to the meetings where we're going over it, you don't know if you what you can afford. There's a lot of things that's going on. And then people, they don't want to talk about taxes, paying self-estimated taxes. They want to talk about a refund, getting a refund. And I'm like, okay, but at the same time, you want the bank to see that you're healthy, that you can move to a new position, or if there's a contract out there and they want to make sure that you can take on the contract, you're not there because you want both sides. You want the refund. The refund shows that your business is not really making money unless you've overpaid. Okay. But then you want to get the business. So I'm like, you have to choose. And like you said, being an entrepreneur is a job, and it does a job on you physically and mentally. It attacks your mental. So you have to be, there as well. So when I talk to people, and because I do financial therapy, I work on them
Woo,
and use that part
excuse
as
me.
well.
For the people in the back, did you say financial therapy?
Yes, I belong to the Financial Therapy Associations. Yes, it's because we talk about finances. Why do you not want to address those things? Why do you not want to look at these type of things and think certain things are taboo? What is it? And when I consult with people, I always look at small. They're still considered small business owners, but they make over 1 million plus. What are your wants, your dreams, and your desires? I need to know that before I start working with you, because you may not be a good candidate for me. If you don't know what your wants, your dreams, or your desires are in this business, are you ready to do succession planning? Are you wanting to be able to buy that dream car or whatever, put your kids through private school? I've got to know all of that, because that's really what keeps them going, is the wants, dreams, and desires. But if you have none, you're like a zombie. You're just moving.
Okay, everybody, I need you to take out some paper when this is over and write down your wants, dreams, and desires. And I think that that's the piece that we're missing. And I'm going to include myself in it, right? Because I was sitting here thinking, what are my wants, dreams, and desires? I'm pretty sure if I sit down with a piece of paper, I can plot that out. But I think when we work for organizations, we are under the corporate umbrella that we're going on their wants, dreams, and aspirations. We're executing their corporate strategic plan, that we don't know how to operate under that umbrella, right? Because when you work for a company, they got departments. In
Yes,
your business, you have departments, but in the beginning, those departments are spearheaded by you, right? Because you are the CEO, the COO. Now, let me just tell you about me. I am the CFO with support from my CPA,
right.
because I don't have the expertise. But you got human resource, you got all those different functional areas that's doing the work and the little nitty gritty about the work that they do, we have no clue. And I really hate when people say, like, you're a business owner, they're working 9 to 5, and they got all this advice about what you should be doing, never, ever owned a business, ran a business, never did a business plan, never experienced business hurt and pain, but they got a whole dissertation of information to share with you. And I just be looking at them like this. Mhm.
Right.
If you only knew.
Exactly. And a lot of it comes from what they think they know, not what they've truly experienced or what they've read or statistical data, because most of them don't know how to read that statistical data or put it together to see what's going on. And so, unfortunately, they do want to tell you. And the next thing, while they're sitting in corporate America, even though corporate America, as being a CFO for corporations and different things like that, I've seen people, they don't even buy into their mission and their goals, their wants, their needs, because there's sometimes at a point they get, I'm just here for the paycheck. So I'm just do enough to get by. So they're not believing in theirs. So it's hard for in corporate America. So it's hard for them to believe in anything in themselves as well.
So they get numb, like
Yes.
working at the organization.
Yes, they do. And then for us as leaders that have managers or directors, we have to get them to buy in to our buy-in. So if
Wow.
they don't buy into us, then they're just there saying, oh, I'm just going to do enough just to get by. But if they believe in the mission and the goals of what you say and you're showing them, then they will buy in, and then they become someone that sets their desires. Okay, now I am, let's just say for the accounting department, I'm a accountant. Now I want to be a senior. Then I want to work up to a manager. So then they bought in and they're working hard, but ask them to take those skills and put it into them. They don't know the first place to start, unfortunately.
Wow. That's because they lack vision, they lack
Yeah,
purpose. And as a business owner, you need all of those things.
you
I was
do.
just sitting here thinking about in the very first commercial office space I moved into, I had a roommate who said, I want you to listen to this because you're going to say, what? She says, do you mind if I rent my desk out while I go on maternity leave? If not, I'm not gonna be able to pay the rent. So, because I gotta go on maternity leave. And I'm like,
Mm.
you're a business owner. You should have been you got 9 months of pregnancy. You should have been planning for what's gonna happen with your business while you're on maternity leave. And so what ultimately happened, she did not rent the desk out because she couldn't find anybody to rent it out for those 3 months. And she literally just left one day and didn't come back and
Oh,
stuck me with all of the rent.
mm,
And when she left, I could tell that now she was supposed to be the person with the financial experience, but she had like rented a copy machine. Them people, I called them to say, hey, can you please come and get this copy machine? They would not call me back. And I'm like, did not rent this copy machine, but I want to give you your equipment back. And one day my husband called them and said, listen, my wife has tried to call you several times about this copy machine. Tomorrow, I am putting this copy machine outside of this building by the garbage. They came and got the machine. But
well, that's a fortunate thing.
yes, but I'm like when she first got the machine, I was like, "Why did you rent this big copy machine?" And she was like, "Well, we're both in healthcare, so I was thinking we could offer a service to organizations where we would copy their medical records." And I'm like, "Who gonna do this work? How much research did you do into this business line?" And it was crickets.
Oh,
So
wow.
needless to say, I am 99% sure that I will never share office with anyone ever again. My second office I moved in, talk about learning lessons. The second office I moved into, I was there for 3 years. Amazing space. It was just me. And one day, the owner of the building said, "Hey, the village has decided that they want to purchase the building from him, and they want to tear the building down and turn the land into an area that can collect water when it's flooding." And
Uh-huh.
so I had to move again. And so my husband said, "You know what, next time where your office is going to be located, we're going to own the space, because we're not going to go through that anymore, because every time we moved in, we had to do the electrical, the drywall, the wiring for the internet," which he can do all of that. But who wants to keep doing that over
Right.
and over and over again? And at first, I wasn't really with the get your own building situation. And after that, I was like, yeah, that's the next move, because I put all of my blood, sweat, energy, and finances into a place that I don't even own.
Right, right. And I see a lot of people do that. I have a lot of restaurant owners, and instead of negotiating in the lease that the owners will fix things, they will go out and fix things. And then if there's a mechanics lien, which has happened, then, look, you just got to get up and you got to go and you put all this work in. So those are things, but you're right. A lot of people, they just don't really plan out what they should be doing and what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. And they don't have a contingency plan should something go wrong. It's just
Such
like,
as your building closes on Friday and today is Thursday and you got to make a decision about what happens next.
right, right. I mean, and a lot of people, when I sit down and I'll talk to business owners and we're talking about growth, there's such a thing of growing too fast and they don't understand that. So then all they want to do is they want to make sure that they start getting people and just putting people in places, whether they're the right fit or not. And I'm like, sometimes, even though you're growing fast, doesn't mean you need to go hire six team of people. You just maybe need one or two, and you still have to be that person that's going to catch more things than you'd like to, because you're adding to your overhead. So all you're thinking about is, I'm going to pay this person 15, $16, but then you didn't think about, if you're in a state that requires state taxes, you got to pay state taxes. You're going to have to remit to the federal government the 941s, then unemployment. So you didn't take in that amount of money that you would be out into consideration. All you thought about is, I'm just going to pay $16 and that's it.
Mm.
Nothing
And
else came
how
with it.
about employee versus 1099?
Yes.
They don't know about the
Yeah.
IR. You know what? Listen, when I say I could write a Mack truck full of lessons learned, some of which I laid on the floor in the office and cried about. But today I'm much more strategic. And there's another book called Who Not How.
Yes. Yes.
And
That
that
one.
book is great because I
Yes.
realized, A, I don't have to do everything, but I do have to be the visionary for the business, know exactly what I want, how I want it done, so I can have that person execute it, but allow them to operate in their area
Right.
instead of
Right.
me trying to do everything.
Yes, and that's another thing for people, and I'm one of them. So I have a high DC personality. I like things to go just XYZ, and sometimes my family will say, "Let the people do their work. You don't have to grab every piece. That's why you hired them." I know, and I'm like, okay, well, it's not being done the way, but the outcome is going to be the same. It's not the way you necessarily do it. And so, yes, we have to let people operate in their gifts. Otherwise, we'll run those people off and we'll find ourselves searching for someone, and then it'll take even longer. And then we're put in a space that we don't want to be put in. So then, next thing you know, it all just has a trickle down effect, and you're in survival mode next because you're just trying to survive.
Hmm. I will tell you, as a person who was in that survival mode, here I am with my virtual assistant that I brought on September 2003. All is well. All is well because I wrote the vision. I
Right.
am making sure that the vision is executed. But also, because things can come to an end, I've also been very strategic about, if I have to bring somebody else in, how to seamlessly transfer the duties to them by having an operations manual, right? Before, I knew I needed to have an operations manual. I had some things, written down, but I noticed as I brought, each person on, they didn't last long because I wasn't clear on what
Right.
the vision is. So there's another book. I'm all about these books. There's another book called Vivid Vision that really
Yes.
listen,
Yes.
the stuff that they don't want us to know is in
Yes.
those books.
I love reading too. I read a lot of books that has to do with accounting and the tax and legal industry. And then I read a lot of books just like you do to develop me more. But yes, I learned a long time ago SOPs and policies and procedures and manuals. That is what kept us going in corporate America. So I knew this had to keep me going in my own business. But a lot of people don't know that, and then so I asked them, what happens if you get sick? Can your business keep going? What? Okay, well,
Uh-huh.
you need to be able to keep going to generate income. And I learned that firsthand when I got sick. My business was able to keep going. And not only was my business able to keep going when I got sick, my children were able to help my best friend with the business because they knew what to do. They didn't necessarily know all the things and understand them, but with her guidance and then having the manual set out, all of those things, it was steady going until I came back. Then I took another hit last year, emergency appendix. My business was still going with my staff because they understand what needs to happen and they know what needs to happen.
I love it. That's a great example of leading by example.
Yes.
And I will tell you the other thing, there's a couple of things that you said that I think is important to highlight. Number one, all business isn't good business. So sometimes, you might see a potential client, the money is right, but it's not really worth it.
No.
And September to December of 2024, I went through a time period of where I fell, I fractured my ankle, I had surgery. I had a couple of people contacting me about, well, while you're healing, you could do XYZ project. And I told them all, no. That's maturity in
Wow.
business, because I could have easily said, oh, yeah, I'll take that on. But the truth of the matter is, I wasn't sure what recovery was going to look like. And so I decided to just take a break and allow myself to heal, mentally, physically, emotionally. And on the other side of it, I know without a shadow of a doubt that that was the best decision to make. But my
Yes.
virtual assistant, she went business as usual because I put in the work to lay the foundation for the vision and the strategy and the mission and the vision and all the things that are needed to keep your business going. Those were intact.
And that's great. That's important. And not a lot of people, so I commend you for that because not a lot of people, there's probably 0.5% of people that think about that, to be honest. They do not think about that. They want to be the be all, do all in their business. And so the be all, do all, you can be the end of your business.
Mm, the end quickly.
Yes.
Wow. So listen, our time today is almost up, but I have to ask this question. You talked about all the ways that you help businesses. I want to know what's in store for you for the future. What is on Laura's list?
Laura's list in the future will be an attorney.
Come on, Laura, attorney. I love it. And why is that?
I love law. And so I especially love tax law. And for me to go to law school, which I am in now, and to be able to be a voice for those who can't speak for themselves, who need help at the U.S. tax court, that's been one of the things that I have desired to do. I'm already loving it and fighting IRS tax cases now, but to be able to go a step further to help them, That's something that I'm really passionate about. I'm really passionate about entrepreneurs and just, those that don't have a voice, helping them to exercise their voice.
I love it. So then I'm hearing that you got to write a book, but I'm not going to tell you the title on here because I don't want nobody to steal this from you. But
Okay.
I'm seeing something in your future because you have so much to give to entrepreneurs. I mean, when you say accounting, let me just tell you, I have PTSD talking about the generally accepted accounting principles. That just because
Yeah.
I did have 4 accounting classes in my undergraduate program, and let me just tell you, let's maybe they had me and I didn't have them because I cost accounting, managerial accounting, all that stuff. I was like,
Yes.
why are we taking this stuff? But I will tell you, as a business owner, I do use one small amount of those the things that I learned, but I learned enough to know that you need a CPA to do your stuff
Yeah.
because Lisa, that's not my zone of genius.
Right, right, right.
Well, I
Yes.
am so excited for you and your future. So, can you tell our listening and viewing audience where they can find you? Because I am sure it's January 2025. I know that there are some businesses that are being birthed this month that need to talk to you before. You know how you got to get a
Right.
passport before you leave the country?
Yes.
Many people need to speak with you before that business idea is birthed because you may ultimately find number one, there isn't a market for it. Or
Right.
number two, the approach that you want to take is not going to be beneficial for you in the end. And so I know that they're out there and they need you.
Okay. So they can find me on my website, www.lbeconsulting.com. You can find me on Facebook, lbeconsulting.com. And on Instagram, it's the tax CEO. And on TikTok, it's the tax CEO as well.
I love it. So what you be doing over there on TikTok?
So on TikTok, look, I do my story times and I educate the public. I have days where I talk about all the new information that has came out from the IRS, so it's all about educational. Then when I'm getting ready to go to these different conferences, I just came back from the American Bar Association fraud conference. So pack with me, go to the conference with me, things like that. So yes.
I love it. So it's some little fun and some education at the same time.
Time, yes.
Love it. Well, listen, are there any final parting words that you want to share with our listening, viewing audience?
I would just tell everyone to just remember you do not have to have all the answers, but you do have to do the work.
Say that again for the people in the back.
You do not have to have all the answers, but you do have to do the work.
Work and work. Well, thank you so much
Oh,
for sharing your expertise and your time today. And I wish you the best of luck. And I'm going over to your TikTok page right now, just because I want to see what you got going on over there.
okay. Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye bye now.
Bye bye.
Thank you for joining today's episode of the 30-minute growth session. Growth happens when we take action. So take the insights from today's show and turn them into impact. You're just one step away from the next level. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let's grow together.